Welcome to the session. So today we are going to see a support ticket where business has requested whenever they release the purchase order, they need to get a notification or they need to have a report where they can see how much level of approval has been done. So there is no SAP standard functionality to do that. So we suggested the client to go with the custom development so that based on the custom development, we can show this functionality in the system. So for that, we started doing the functional specification document. Functional specification document. What is functional specification document? Functional specification document is nothing but you will give the data to the ABAPO. He will build a new report based on the requirement of the client. He will understand what is the business requirement. Then based on that, he is going to build the report. As a functional consultant, what is our role in the functional specification is we need to provide from where the data should get pulled to make that report. So ABAPO does not know which data to have in the report and from where to take the data. So as a functional consultant, we will be providing the data to the ABAPO. Okay. And as you all know, computer does not know any language. It has only the binary language, which is 0 and 1. In the same way, SAP also does not know any language. It has only one language, which is table and fields. So whatever data you are going to create in the system, those are going to save in the table and fields. So the concept of table and fields. For example, if you take table, what is table? So for example, let me take material. In material, you have the basic data. What is the basic data? Basic data contains material number, base unit of measure, description. All those are the fields. So all are included in a single table. Now, for example, you have a table called Mara. So in this table, you will be able to see all the fields like description, base unit of measure, material group. So like this, you will have different fields selected in the single table. So we are going to search the table and we are going to give the data from which table does the data want to be picked to create the function specification. So today we are going to see a topic of report of release approvers. What is the requirement here? The requirement here is whenever the PO is released. Now, for example, if you take what is released, you will have release procedure. This procedure, you will be creating the characteristics, you will be creating the class, release indicator, release group, release strategies. Based on that, you will have the approvers. The approvers. So approvers will be assigned based on the amount, the total value of the PO. If it is 0 to 100, level 1 approval will approve. If it is from 1 to 1 to 1000, 2 levels of approval will come into picture, level 1 and level 2. So the requirement here is they need to pull a report of how many approvers have been approved the PO. And they can, based on this report, they can also analyze did the approver approve the PO on time or not. Okay, so to fulfill this requirement, we have to write a functional specification document. So functional specification document will contain what is the requirement, actual requirement of the business. Then based on the requirement, we are going to provide the tables and fields from where the data needs to be picked to create that report. In report, whenever you see report in SAP, you will have two sections. One is selection field and other one is the list fields. Okay, the selection fields, what is the difference between selection fields and list fields? If you see the selection field, In selection field, you can have the filter. For example, you have a plant, you have company code, so you can filter based on your plant and company code there. And based on that filter in the selection field, the data will get reflected in the list field. So whenever you are developing a report in SAP, you need to consider these two sections to be configured. So now we are focusing on the report of release approvers. So we are going to create the report. So you need to consider selection field as well as a list field. Okay. So first thing, for example, think that business want the selection field like company code, like plant, okay, and number of approvers, and they want the price, total price of the PO. So that you are going to create these in the selection field. Based on this, you are going to keep the table and fields to the ABAP, so that he will build the selection field first. Then you need to provide the list fields, so that in list fields, you will have a report like this. The report will get generated like this. So this is your header, and below header, you will have all the details. So what needs to be entered in the header? Which all data you need to pick in the header? That also you only needs to confirm to the ABAP. Okay, so now let's open the functional spec and see what is the exact requirement, and we'll see how we can write the functional specification for that. As we have already written the functional spec, I'll open the functional spec and explain how it works. Okay. So this is the functional specification for the document service entry sheet. So now what business is asking? Business is asking that they want to see the release, the service entry sheet is released or not by the approver, so that they can check the service entry sheet and check whatever the services happen to the in the warehouse, so that if it is released, then only the vendor will come and do the service, or he will provide the service to you. Because if there is no release in the PR, the SCS service entry sheet will not be sent to the vendor. For example, think that vendor is, you are placing a PO to the vendor. The vendor is coming to your warehouse and doing the service. For that, he is going to give a service entry sheet. For that service entry sheet, you are going to confirm. Right? Open service entry sheet. Let me try to open it here. So this is the service entry sheet. Whenever vendor comes to your warehouse and do the service, you are going to create the service entry sheet that this service has been done. So whenever the service entry sheet is created, you are going to check the machine which is serviced by the vendor, and you are going to approve this service entry sheet. Post you approve this service entry sheet, then only the GR will get posted in the PO. Unless and until that, the GR will not get posted in the PO. Right? And what is the business requirement? I want to see the vendor has done the service for me, and if I want to pay the vendor, the service entry sheet needs to be approved. If it is not approved, I cannot pay. And we have some deadline with the vendor that I need to pay the amount in this date. So that if you don't pay the vendor on that time, based on the payment terms, you will have a penalty. So you're going to check the service entry sheet is going to be approved or not. To check that, you need to open individual each and every service entry sheet and check. So what business are asking? Can we build a report for service entry sheet so that I can see the service entry sheet is approved or not? If it is not approved, then I can ask my approver to approve it and then pay the vendor. To do that, you need to see what is the table which is used in the service entry sheet. Click on the service entry sheet number, click on F1 and go to the technical details. Here you have a table name as ESSR. So all the service entry sheet fields is controlled by the ESSR table. So we need to use this table to fulfill the requirement, right? So let me go back to the functional spec, what we have written. If you see the logic in the functional spec, they're asking the input screen as well as an output screen. In input screen, you can have n number of filters. Based on that filter, the output will get triggered. Okay. Now, what they need the service entry number. So, if you see here, this is the table of service entry sheet. Here, where is the service number? So this is the service sheet number. So this is the field. So I'll take this as a table and this as a field. And go and enter it here. And I want service entry sheet creation date. So in this table, search where is the creation date. So let me check where it is. So it's here. Date on which the record was created. Service entry sheet is not an order which you are going to create it to the vendor. Service entry sheet is an order which we are going to use it for internal purpose to show that the vendor has come and done the service. Right? So you will have a name of date on which the record was created. Right? So take this field and take this table and update it in the FS document. Now they want the plant and the purchase group. Okay, now let me go back and try to search, is there any plant in this table? You can check from here. You see there is no plant in this line. There is no plant here also. So there is no plant here. If you go to the service entry sheet also, in the service entry sheet, in none of the place you are updating the plant. But how you are going to get the plant now? So each and every service entry sheet is interlinked to the purchase order. First you create the purchase order, then only you are going to create the service entry sheet, right? So you will have the plant and purchase group in your purchase order. So go to purchase order, take this purchase order, then open the purchase order and check is there any plant and purchase group maintained in the PO or not. If it is maintained, then what is the table for PO? It is EKKO. I use that table as EKPO as we are going to maintain that in the item level. So I'll take EKPO and update the plant field here. Okay. Now we need purchase group. So as I said, purchase group is updated in the header level. So I use EKKO and from there I pick the field name as EKGRV. Okay, and you need to write the logic for that, how the output should get triggered. So in the same way, we are going to use the release group, release strategy as a field in the ESSR table, and from there we are going to pass that value to this table T186FS. So based on that, it will pick the release codes. Okay, if it is picking the release codes, then you need how much levels of approval are there in this field. So that you are going to ESSR again and checking the indicator. What is the indicator in the first level and what is the indicator in the second level? Now you understood that there are 2 levels of approval in the PR. Now you need their names. To get their names, I go to the same table called CDHDR, and from there I'm going to pick the object class of the entry sheet. From there I'm going to pick the name. So the output will look like this. In the same way, you have a selection parameter, which is a filter parameter, and the output parameter, which is defined here. And you have any frequency if you are going to set a background job for that. Is it going to run on daily basis or it is a manual? And you're going to create a T code for that, and you will have a program name also for that. Right? In this way, you can fulfill the business requirement of seeing is any service entry sheet pending from our end to pay the vendor or not. Okay.
Thank you.